Hello everybody, this is Jason Donnelly, your host, aka DJ Puzzle, and today we're going to make drum presets in Synth 1. I love the sound of synth drums, so of course I had to make some for my presets in Synth 1. So I made a snare drum and sent it over to developer Matthew Fetcher, and he said, dude, you should definitely make a tutorial to show users how to make snare drums like this in Synth 1. So I didn't have much time. I was working on other things, and then we got hit by this crazy heat wave here in LA. So that set me back a bit, but I'm here again, and I'm really excited to show you some cool things you can do with Synth 1. But gonna shift gears here and show you patterning 2 real quick. Why? Well, because I formatted the Synth 1 drum set that I created in this video tutorial. In patterning 1 now, it's a kit and it's on the patterning drum cloud and it's compatible with patterning 1 and 2 since I formatted it. In patterning 1, it's also compatible with 2. And if you notice, I actually shot this scene today on a separate day because I just recently got a copy of patterning 2 and just really wanted to show you guys what the Synth 1 drums sound like in this app. This app is great. I love all the additional features. Definitely worth the purchase. I highly recommend buying patterning 2. So yeah, go to the patterning kit cloud, download my Synth 1 kit, and rate it. Give it a rating so we can get lots of downloads. So the drum presets I'm about to show you are also included in my preset bank within Synth 1. But hey, now you can get them as samples as well for patterning. Alright, so enough of that. Let's get right to the sound design tutorial, shall we? So we'll start with the snare drum. Let's keep it simple since we're working on drums and just focus on just a small set of parameters for this tutorial. Start by initializing the synth. Simply open the init preset, then hit the hold button and press a key. This will give us a nice long sustained tone to work on. Well, let's keep things simple for drums. We'll focus on the oscillator section for generating waveforms, and we'll look at the waveform display. Over here, in the oscillator mixer section, you have volume knobs for a sub-oscillator, 2 digitally controlled oscillators, and a mix knob to blend the two. We already have a sustaining note active, so let's bring up the volume for oscillator 1. And there is a triangle waveform. We can change our waveforms for each oscillator by sliding across to move from waveform to waveform. This mixes the simple waveforms to get a more complex waveform. So let's go ahead and use a square wave and dial in some sub-oscillator. Can drop that sub-oscillator down 2 octaves. Now here you can see in the waveform display what's going on. The sub is currently a sine wave. There is just the sub. You can also choose a square sub-oscillator or go back to the default sine wave. Now notice the sub-os is really low. This is because it's playing sub-frequencies near the bottom end of our hearing capabilities. You can feel it, and it's there. You can hear it in headphones. But one trick to make a low subtone more audible is to add bit crusher to it. The bit crusher will add additional frequencies and harmonics. You'll hear a lot of this sound in trap and dubstep music. Imagine modulating that bit crusher knob, which you can do in this synth, but we'll talk about that in another tutorial. Let's get back to making drum sounds. Mess around by tuning the oscillators to different notes. Bring in the second oscillator and select the pulse wave, which is a variation on a square wave. Continue to mess with the tunings and adjust the mix accordingly. I chose to use square and pulse waves in this tutorial, but feel free to go ahead and experiment with different waveforms if you like. A little detune goes a long way. I always use just a subtle amount of detune. Crank up your filter and check out the different filter types. In this case, we're going to stick with low pass. Now, to my favorite sound, noise. Noise is essential when creating snare drums and hi-hats. It's great for a lot of percussion sounds, and what we'll do is literally sculpt that noise. Over here in our envelopes screen, we have the filter envelope and the amplitude envelope. So start from scratch, start from zero, just pull all the amplitude knobs down and then dial in just a little decay. We want a short decay. We want a snare drum with a short decay. Let's make things a little more ergonomic. Just gonna move some things around. Okay, so tack's all the way down, decay is just a little up, okay? And mess with that decay. Check it out, dial it, get a feel for what it's doing. See how it's shortening the sound, okay? Alright, so let's adjust the sustain and release in the amplitude envelope so that we can get what's called a key off tail. You want to hit that key and have the sound ring out, okay? Think of an acoustic snare drum. When you hit that snare, unless something was on there muting or muffling it, you'd get that key off tail, that sustain on the snare. That's kind of what we want right now. Now we've got a nice amplitude envelope dialed in. Let's fine tune the tone of the snare. Here's just the noise. Now let's dial in a little bit of the sub. Okay, that gives you a little of that punchy tone. You hear that? Now dial in a little bit of DCO1 and a real small amount of DCO2. There you go. So this is all subjective. I think the most important thing is that, if you ask me, is just make sure you use some form of square wave, like the pulse wave we have here. Again, you might be able to do something cool with different waveforms, but I prefer what I have here set. But then as far as like dialing in the mix and the pitches for the actual tone, that's up to you. It's kind of, up to you to just experiment with it. So let's move on to the filter envelope. Now this filter in this synth is subtractive. So we have our filter knob up. Let's crank up the envelope amount. And you'll hear what that's doing. You'll hear what this envelope is doing now to that filter section. Subtractive. So we have all these knobs down. So you're hearing something similar to the amplitude envelope. You've got the same decay, sustain, and release, but that's working with the frequencies now, not the amplitude. Now sculpting the filter. See here, now we have our toms. So far I showed you how to create a snare and a tom-tom. Can you believe it was that simple? Up here you have something like a doumbek, or maybe a bongo. So as you can see, a lot can be achieved here with these two envelopes. You can go from snare to tom, to small percussion, and even a kick drum. Mess around with these envelopes like you see here in my video to get the desired sound. After all, this is all about your vision. I just want to give you a solid foundation to start. So look at both of these envelopes here, and you'll see when working with drums, you'll see that we're using really short decay, and then we're really messing with the sustain and the release. This is more important on the amplitude side, but it's also important on the filter side to just sculpt the right behavior of that filter. So the key for drums, in my opinion, unless you're doing big, long, sustaining, crazy, giant drum sounds, or maybe like booming bass sounds or kick drum sounds that you want to boom long and ring out, you're going to use short decays. As you see here, you can see the visual representation right here of our settings, which is a beautiful thing. Now hear how the sound gets shorter. You can also sculpt the length of a sound using the filter envelope. But keep in mind that's also affecting the filter itself, so you will also affect frequencies within the sound itself. Whereas with the amplitude envelope, you're not affecting the frequencies. A nice combination of the two, and you'll get your desired sound. Now, if we sweep let's sweep that low pass filter back a bit, and boom, we have a kick drum. It's almost 808-ish, which makes sense since this is an analog synth. The overall concept is the same. Let's save that kick down. I really like it. Soft, boomy kick. It's a nice round boomy kind of 808 kick, almost like the 808 toms. Now tweak that filter knob to get a stabby synth sound. Switch up the filter types to achieve less boomy sounds. Bandpass and high pass are great for thinning out the sound by cutting the low frequencies and some of the mids. You can make things sound like effects, hi-hats, and claps using these different filter settings. Okay, cool. Now we need some hi-hats. Oh, there's a good open hat. Now for a nice short closed hat. See if you can do this. See if you can beat me to it. I'm going to save the open hat first. But you should be where I'm at now in the video. If you have a nice open hat or load my preset open hat, it will be in the build soon. And make yours a short closed hat. And it looks like, there we go, something, we're getting a little, all right. That's good enough. I think I made like 3 or 4 different ones just now. Again, it's really hard to choose sometimes. Just save them all. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you like my channel and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. There are many ways you can support. I have links to everything down in the description. I can get an affiliate cut if you buy any apps through my links. This is a free app, so that doesn't apply here. You can buy loops and samples from my company, Soundtrack Loops. There's a link in the description below. I just started a Patreon too, so help me kick that off. And I'll leave you with this.